to distribute or not to distribute? That's the question of tonight. Join me as I speak with our special guest on Creative Talks, Scorpio Chronicles. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you joining me on tonight. We do have a good show for you tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about distribution. And I have one of our special guests. He is the owner of Maverick Distributions, which is going to be the distribution company that's going to be distributing my book. So I'm very excited about that. The agent. And we're going to have a conversation with him about some things. So to get you knowledgeable about distribution, so you know how it works and things of that matter. So without further ado, we do have our special guest, John. How are you doing tonight?
Good, you?
I'm great. I am great. So how are things going, sir?
Good. I just learned something new. I had no idea we are going to be distributing your books when the time comes. So that's some news to me. Well,
Hey,
congratulations.
I'm full of surprises, of course. Who else you think was going to distribute my book?
Uh,
Nobody
we, we,
else. Yeah, no.
we're going to leave that there.
Yeah, no one else. Trust me. So we are excited. I'm excited to have you on the show tonight. So I am glad that you are here. Just have some questions just to help people understand distribution, to see
Okay.
kind of like a little bit behind the scenes about distribution. So that's pretty much mainly what my questions are kind of geared around, and like the purpose of distribution and things of that matter. Like, is it necessary to have a distribution company? So things of that matter. So just to start off really quickly. So first question, can you just like give like a description on what a distribution company does when it comes to comic books and things of that
Okay. So there are two kinds of distribution companies. There are the business to business and business to customer ones. And then there's those that are just business to business, which is just Maverick distribution. What I mean by that is that the focus of Maverick is to work with the comic book stores to get the publishers under the Maverick, distribution umbrella, get their books into stores.
matter? Okay, yeah.
I want to leave the business to customer to the publishers and indie creators
Hmm.
because I would not want to take those relationships away from them.
Correct.
So they can, if someone wants to go to their store, buy a book, that's fantastic. But and then when it comes to like the retail stores, comic book stores, any store that really carries comics that they want to purchase some of those books is where I will come in and help distribute to those businesses.
Oh, okay. That is awesome. That's a good explanation of what a distribution company does. Because
Right.
some people may look at it like, okay, what do they do? I mean,
Yeah.
what part does that play? Because a lot of people they buy the comics, but they don't know the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
I just want to give, yeah,
Yeah, it's a service. At the end
yeah.
of the day, it's a service. Indie creators have a lot on their plate. With the different costs, the resources that they have, it's always at a higher rate than if you're working for a mainstream comic book company.
Yeah.
So the purpose of Maverick is to kind of help those indie creators, keeping them in mind. And the
Mhm.
fact, I also own a store myself,
Yeah.
keeping the comic book stores in mind on what are the not to say best ways, but best practices in the way of distributing that work, keeping both entities in mind, the comic
Mm.
book creators and the comic book stores.
Yeah. And that's something that a lot of, you know, big places don't do. They don't keep the creators and the writers in mind. They mainly want to get the comic out of there
Mhm.
and just get it to the people's hands to get that quick buck. So I
Right,
do appreciate that you are going to have the creators and the writers. You're pretty much thinking about them first, and then
right.
getting the books out there, and then whatever is happening afterwards, and that's the rest of you. So
Hmm.
I do appreciate that, and I'm sure some
Thank you.
other independent creators do appreciate that also. That you're actually taking time out and doing that. That's customer service. That shows. That's very important. Now, on to the next question. Now, some people, of course, like anything else, everything has their disadvantages and advantages when it comes to certain things. Now, when it comes to a distribution company or distributing comic books,
Mhm.
period, what would you say would be advantages and what would be some disadvantages?
Oh, so the advantages are is the way that I developed the model for Maverick, keeping up with, like I said, the creators and the stores in mind. I take a lower profit per comic book sold, whereas some distribution companies want the creators to give a 60% off cover
Mm,
just to distribute their book. I'm only doing 50. But along with that, I'm noticing, the advantages. I'm aware of how a lot of creators either use Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or whatever platform they use to raise those crowd funding sources to fund their books. Where I have an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? You're distributing your books under Maverick.
mhm,
Let me tack on X number of books on top of your final order just so we can bring down your end of cost, because you might be hitting those price breaks. Sometimes some companies have 25, 50, 100 books before you really start to see a break in the price per comic printed.
yeah.
So I find a way to try and like work with the creators, like, hey, I'll pay for X number at cost, which will help you bring down your total costs if you just have your printer ship it directly to me.
Mm,
So those are some of the advantages, because I also worked with some of these printers in the past,
mhm,
for some of our books as well. So I know what they can and cannot do, and a lot of creators use similar printers. So in establishing those relationships and keeping those relationships really help. The disadvantage is it's a young organization. It's a startup. Just
yeah.
like any startup, it takes time to build
The
that brand.
bill. Mhm,
Um, I often got the biggest question I get is, well, how many stores have signed up for you, or how many stores are you distributing to? Right now, we're building that.
yeah.
I can confidently say I have about 20 to 25 stores who have signed up.
Mhm,
Signing up is very different than f- placing an order for fulfillment.
yes.
Um, and retail stores have a lot going on because they have to pay Diamond, they have to pay Lunar, some of them might have to pay Penguin House because now Marvel has moved to Penguin House. So you already have big distribution companies out there who are already pulling these comic book stores. And it's like, well, what makes you different, and how are you going to help reduce my costs? So battling those things are some of the disadvantages. Along with starting out, there was a perception that we would have that there would be a bunch of stores and people are reaching out because they want to get their books distributed through Maverick.
Mhm,
Well, it's kind of hard to go to a store if you have no product to sell.
very true.
So building the group of creators, the publishers who are out there, building that catalog was actually the biggest key, because now I can go to these stores and say, hey, take a look at my catalog under my distribution company. Here's the percentage discount for you as the store. This is what we can do for you. Whether it be a free shipping.
Mhm,
One of the things is all comics are bagged and boarded before going out for
right.
shipping, because that reduces damage. It's not a perfect solution, but it's something to help reduce. And so that's kind of the uphill battle, is you have to start from somewhere, and you're trying to build a name, trying to work in an industry that's already have
Yeah.
established entities.
Oh yeah, that's not that's something that doesn't cross people's mind.
Hmm.
Some people have the mindset where I have this business, I'm gonna get started, I'm gonna make all this money, but don't realize there's competition right down the street from you.
Yeah,
Or there's competition right up the street for you. You're in the middle, so you have to do something different from everyone else to
right.
make yourself stand out more. So and that's what Maverick is actually doing. They're doing something completely different and standing out more, which is it is going to pay off. It's just getting started, so
Yep, it's gonna take time.
it's going to take time to build. It's just like having a child.
Yep.
I mean, you gotta train them and teach them how to walk. They gotta crawl first, and that's all businesses. So, but it'll get there. It will get there. Trust me.
Yep.
Maverick will get there.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I'm not worried about. Now, another question for you. You have some people that are independent all the way. And when I say independent all the way, they go as far as printing out their own comics
Hmm.
on their own personal printer, um, distributing their own comics to their comic book stores. So some people may ask the question like, do you think a distribution company is necessary or things of that matter? Because I personally believe that you need help. If you want to get your
Right.
books out there, you need a backing, you need a machine. You can't do it all by yourself.
Right.
So, do you think that if someone would have asked you, is a distribution company necessary? What would be your answer?
My answer is you do what you think is best for yourself. And that's not saying whether to go distribution or not. It's really you have to look at your own model and think about what's important to you. Again, it's a service. The point of the service is to help get your books into the hands of the comic book stores to then get into the hands of the people. Um, how much do you value your time? Do you want to sit and bag and board and then mail out every order that comes across your table? Do you want to hold on to inventory for X number of months, years possibly because you're still getting your name out there? Um, it's all what you believe is best for you. Like I explained to some creators, I have some space that is dedicated to just warehousing and
Hmm.
consignment control of all the comics.
Yeah,
They're bagged and board, and they're inspected because I'm a comic book shop myself, with
yeah,
Encased Comics. So I inspect the books and see and make sure that there's no imperfection, no bends, no spot, no to make sure whatever is inventory to the stores is in the condition that they would expect to receive it.
yeah,
Um, so it's keeping those things in mind. You have to know what your customers are looking for, you know what your stores are looking for. If you enjoy bagging, boarding, fulfilling the orders, getting them out there, having that hand in there, going to the stores and essentially marketing yourself to the stores, all power to you. Like that's great.
yeah,
But there are some that do need that help. They might not know how to approach the comic book stores. They might not know
right,
what stores are considered indie friendly or small press friendly. Um, I've made connections through the years of knowing what kind of some of the stores and some that may not be indie friendly, but oh, hey, what? Show me what you have. We'll give it a chance.
mhm,
So going back, my advice is that if you feel like you got it handled, that's awesome. Keep it going. If
yeah,
you feel like you just need some help,
mhm,
you want that extra muscle in a sense to help push your books into the hands of people,
yeah.
then that's when you want to look for a distribution. Again, at the end
Um,
of the day, it's a service. For me, it's not a service to make profit off of. It's a service to help the creators get their stuff into the stores.
Correct. Speaking of creators, Sovereign Comics, Tia just joined us. How are you doing tonight, Tia? Thank you for joining. And so of course, you all know I am under Sovereign One. That's going to be what my book title is under Sovereign One under Sovereign Comics. So of course, I will be distributing under Maverick.
Yeah, yeah, and
No place
Sovereign,
else.
being one of the publishers we now distribute, we've already
Yes,
fulfilled orders to get their books in other comic book shops. So
correct. That's exciting. That is very, very, very exciting. So that was actually a very good answer. It is. It's up to the
right,
creator, if they want to choose. So unlike some people, I do enjoy my personal time, and I don't always want to be tied down. I
right,
want to just sit and relax sometimes. So to have someone distribute that book for me instead of me running from store to store trying to distribute a book,
yeah,
that would work for me.
yeah. I mean, think about it like this. We're bagging and boarding all your books to make sure that they're in the best condition when they go out the door. I already invested in some new mailers from
Hmm.
Gemini.
Oh yeah.
Holds about 32 bagged and boarded comics,
Mm,
100-pound weight. So it kind of, to help, minimize damages to comics that go out. Um, then you have to think about the inventory. Do
correct.
you have space to maintain your own inventory?
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those, like, it's a service. It is. I'm more than happy to help because also you get a little bit of marketing in it because I'm
Yes.
helping to market your books.
Correct.
I'm marketing my brand as Maverick, but I'm also marketing your books. Like, hey, check out this book, because to be quite honest, most of the time I'm going to read your book anyway before I even
True.
send it. Because how am I also going to distribute a comic that I have no idea what the comic's about,
Don't
other
even
than
know what it's
the
about.
synopsis that's on a web page?
Yeah.
Anybody can do that. It's a matter of, like, let me read this for myself. So if anybody asks us, hey, this is what this is about, or tell the comic book shop, hey, if you have customers that are love this genre,
Mm,
check out this book that's in our catalog.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I that's why I always, yes, I know I could do the digital, but I love actually getting the physical copy because I I like to feel the book in my hand and I
Hmm.
like to actually turn the pages and
Yep.
actually read it. So that's what I've learned to do in the past. Don't just go online. Okay, let me see what this comic book is about.
Hmm.
And people are talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. But no, I actually pick up the book and read it. Like, okay, yeah, I remember this part. I explained that you could. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're part of the business, you need to know about the business also.
Right.
So don't just come in and just say you're a distributor and then haven't read not one comic or
Exactly.
haven't even touched or feel and can tell whether if it's good paper or not, or if it's bagged and board correctly or packaged correctly. So stop it, y'all.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Okay. One more question. Now, of course, we inspire people in many different ways,
Hmm.
in ways that we had no idea that we inspire. With people seeing Maverick distribution out now, some people have probably had a click in their brain like, I could probably start my own distribution company too.
Hmm.
And I could probably, help do the same thing. What advice would you give someone when wanting to start a distribution company? And what advice would you give someone that doesn't want to start one but have a hard time choosing which distribution company? Two questions.
Ooh. So I'm gonna touch on the first one first. So
Hmm.
you want to start a distribution company? Go for it. You are more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm a very transparent person with a
Yes.
lot of things. Ask me questions. I will try my best to help you out. It's the same thing that with my shop. I have other people say, "Hey, how did you start a comic book store?" This is how I started it. Might not be your favorite approach,
Yeah.
but I'd be more than happy to help. Um, knowing, know what kind of books you want to bring on, know what kind of creators you want to work with. Working with, knowing the creators is a big plus because you have that connection. You can talk to, like, hey, I want to really start a distribution company. How can I get your books part of my distro? Like, what do you need? Start talking to people, getting out there. Um, it's easy to start a business, and conceptual wise, it's the sustainability of the business that it's going to take some time.
Mm,
Just like, I said, this is a startup.
yeah.
I want it to succeed, and I will do what I need to make it succeed.
Correct.
But it is also bound to fail. Statistically speaking, majority startups do fail within the first year. That is a stat.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is also a distribution company that essentially is out of, the funds that I've reserved, you know,
Mm,
for myself, from my other business, is it helps fund this one.
yeah.
So it comes at a high risk, what you're doing. So, but if you're planning to start a business, look at what grants are in your township.
Correct.
Look at
Yeah.
what funds might be available. Reach out to
Mm,
family. Personally, stay away from loans, um,
most definitely.
because that's just money you're gonna have to pay back, regardless of how well the business does. Um, because, yeah, I could probably apply for some loans, but I'd rather not. I'd rather put in the hard work and put in the sweat equity to build something
Yeah.
from the ground up. So, but think about what's best for you if you really want to start your own distribution. Don't be afraid to network.
Mm-hmm.
And networking isn't just is your friend, your family, but creators. Go on Instagram, Facebook. Say hey, send her a hey quick message. Hi, my name is so and so. I have this idea. Is this something that you'd be interested in? Or any suggestions? So I kind of answered that one. I completely forgot the second question. So
The second question is, how would someone choose a distribution company?
you choose what you think is best for you. If there is a small margin of profit to be made in comics overall. Um, because as creators, you have to think about, your costs to create your books, the
True.
cost to print those books, your minimum just to break even, because
Hmm.
you also want to make sure you don't price it too high to where people get turned off by the price of the book.
Correct.
So you have to choose a distribution company that's willing to work with you. Um, like I said, there are large, there's a large ones. There is Diamond, there is Lunar, there is Penguin House, and that's just to name some of the bigger ones. There are other ones, and there's also other publishers who you know self-distribute as well, who do very well.
Correct.
But you also have to think, but when you're using a distribution company, you also have to think about, again, it's a service. How much are you willing to lose in a sense? For example, like I said, I asked for 50% off the cover price, which I have found is at least to cover the breaking point for that book.
Hmm.
Um, but and I also find ways to help bring down your total cost for your Indiegogos or your Kickstarter. But it's also are you where other companies want 60%? Can
Yeah.
you can you really take that 60% off your book? Is a 50% book, or just can you really afford to take any discount off your book and rather just go do it yourself? Also, another big
Yeah.
thing is the timelines. Some of the major publishers have very hard deadlines. So if you don't make the final order cutoff to get your book sent off for printing, you can either delay it getting into stores, or they just drop you as a publisher altogether. And then you have to figure out, well, how am I going to get my books in stores now?
Yeah.
And that's something I
They,
don't want. And again, for me, it's about understanding the limitations that some of our small press and indie creators have, where I don't want to instill deadlines. That's why I rather buy some of the books and maintain an on-hand inventory to where source can just shop off of, versus forcing to, hey, you have to get your books to my store by this date just to make it into the catalog so we can get to the stores. And if you don't make it, you're pretty much SOL.
and see that's one of the reasons why I fell in deeply in love with the indie comics, small press part of comics
Hmm?
because there's really no rules.
Right.
You make your own rules pretty much.
Pretty
But
much.
I mean, because if you were like you said, if I was with Marvel or DC or Dark Horse or Image or any of these other ones, you have a deadline. If I don't meet that deadline, they ready to quit. Oh,
Right.
step. That's it. With indie comics, I don't have to do that,
Yeah.
and that's what I love most with that whole independent thing. That's why I said if I even were to go into music, like if I were to be like a music artist, I think I would go independent.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't have. Yes, it's gonna be money out of my pocket. It's
Right.
gonna be taking a risk, but I think it's worth it
Yep.
to take that chance because you never know that chance
Exactly.
that you may just need to take that one chance, and that's a chance that you needed to blow up. So I that's why I just the thought of that. I'm like I love small press indie
Yeah.
comics. So I don't want to go anyplace else. Even if my book or any one of our books go big, I'm hoping that if we were to do a movie or something, for me, it's going to be an independent movie.
Right.
I'm not going to go Hollywood. No, you can't. No, sorry, no. Because I've been rules. You got to change. Want to change my character? No, no, I can't have that. But that's what I love about the small press, the freedom
It's-
that we do have.
yeah, you set your own deadlines. You have a little bit more
Yeah,
freedom, and it's just you basically try to do it when you can, also, but also maintaining that line of communication with your backers, the
correct.
people who support you. So it's like I said, it's more like if you choose what you think is best for your company, how you want to move your company forward. I'm not saying Maverick is the best. I'm not saying we're
It is.
big. We're a smart up. We're a
We are going
startup.
to be.
we're a startup, and we're just here to help you get there. Um. So
Yeah. Well, John, it's that time of the show where we're
all
going
right.
to have a little fun.
Okay.
All right. So now this is
A little fun.
where you get to go. I'm going to give you the ticket, and we're going to get on this train, and
Okay.
we're going to take a trip to Arrogantville. This is a place where everyone is at the same level, but we're not at the same level. In our minds, we're not at the same level. That time, all those times where you want to be arrogant, but you hold back due to people's feelings. Now you're gonna get. I want you to let that out and just
Oof.
just become. I just let it all out. I mean, like I said in the previous show, I said this is something that I think every creator, every business owner, every writer, artist, they need to actually do this. They need to just have that moment to just go to this place and just be like, "There's no one better than me. Can no one draw like me? No one can write like me. No one
Right.
you need to have that moment." So we're in Arrogantville now, John. So how does it feel to have your own comic book and comic book store and Maverick distribution? Then you have all these other people that are competing with you.
It is surreal. Um. So I've had Encased Comics for about a year and a half, if you believe it. So I filed the paperwork in March in 2020. COVID was
March
saying
2020.
hello,
Wow.
hello. So it
But it
was
was
like
but it was the perfect time because
I was
that's
all
when
online. So
yes,
I,
and
I already kind of
everybody
so
got back
I
into
already
that.
had a step up because I was already an online store.
Uh-oh, there we go.
Um,
There's the arrogance
so
coming
like all
in.
right, so it's like all right, so and things really started to kind of like take off to a point where like I didn't expect it to take off.
Uh-huh.
And here we are with Maverick. Maverick's only a few months old, and I would say there's no distributor that can just take care of your books the way I'm going to take care of your books.
There we go. There's that arrogance.
My wife sits there and like you, she's like, I'm impressed on how well you just care for the comic books in hand because one, I'm gonna hold them the way I hold my own comics.
Mm.
I can literally hold my comics, read them, put them away, probably send them off for grading, and they still come back a 9.6, 9.8 because I took
Oh,
care of my book.
there it is.
Um,
He's officially
I'm
in
gonna.
Arrogantville, y'all.
You forget I'm also a Scorpio.
Yes, true.
So
We that's why I said we have to hide that arrogance back. We just like
so like that's the thing. Like I genuinely care, which might come off as arrogant, but it's like I
mm-hmm,
genuinely care. Like I want your books to be in great condition.
exactly.
I will probably even question if you want to still use that printer that you've been printing with, because I've
Mm-hmm.
seen books is like from one printer that comes in nice, flat, saran wrap. It's like they're presenting it as a gift to me as a distributor, where I get it from some, and it's like, oh,
Like
this
they just
this
took it and just did like this, just threw it right in the box and just
yeah,
flung it.
yeah. So it's just one of those like you're not going to find a distributor that's actually going to care about your books the way I do. You're not going to find one that's going to take the
Okay.
time to like what do you need? What do you need as a creator
Uh-huh.
to be successful? And that was one of the things I took the time to do. I reached out to some creators like, hey, if I do this, what do you need to be successful? Again, like I told, for me, 10% is what I get for every comic that's sold through the Maverick website to a shop. 10%. I'm not, where others are getting 20%, 25%. 10% is what I take. It's enough, and truthfully, and it's enough to cover supplies. Plus, I charge a flat rate shipping to
Correct.
the comic book stores because they already are inundated with so much paying for shipping that the flat rate, regardless of how many books you order, which could come at a loss, because depending on how many books they order. So it's not one to make profit off of. It's my service to help you get your books in the store. Will there be other things to help make it a little bit more profitable? Absolutely. But it's going to take time.
Yep. How did that feel, John? 'Cause we get ready to leave Eric. How did that
Feel good. Feel good.
All right, come on, John. Let's get back on the train. Let's
Okay.
go. We got to come back to reality. That was fun. Now, don't be shy to take yourself there sometimes and just remind. Sometimes you have to do that to remind yourself who you are,
Yep.
because you're gonna get these doubts and you're gonna feel like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna work. And let me go to Eric and Bill. Let me go there for a moment. Oh, I reminded myself. Now I know why I did this. Okay, now back to the grind.
I'm gonna
Sometimes you
head on
have
over
to
to Arrogantville.
see exactly. Just sing along going there. All right, we got one more last fun thing. I love this part,
Your
and other
definition of fun and my
people,
definition of fun is very different.
yes. You thought this show was just gonna be a little boring little question, and how do you
No,
do this? What's your favorite comic?
no.
No,
I watch your show.
no. I'm sure you do. I don't just ask
I'm a
the
su-
regular
I'm a sus-
questions.
I'm a subscriber on your YouTube.
See, I like you already. I knew I liked you. I knew I liked. Now we're gonna go to my favorite part. It's called the Bank of Audacity, where some people just go there and get loaned too much.
Mm.
This is the opportunity where you get to tell me it doesn't have to even do with comics or anything, or if you got comics, that's fine too. When you get to tell me where someone had the audacity to say or do something towards you, and it's just like, I want you to let that out and just be like, finally.
So before doing Maverick, I used Encased and I did bring on a lot of indie books to the inventory, which is being modified to make it look a little more presentable. Just because I may have backed or brought in one of your first books does not mean I'm going to bring in every one of your books.
Hmm.
Um, Part of that comes from the way you might approach me, and being at my online store. Your online presence is partly key, but it's the way you message, the way you interact that's very important to me. Have a level of professionalism, um, which means that you don't simply just drop a link in my DM and expect that I'm going to go and back your project.
Oh boy.
Um,
Oh boy.
but then on the Maverick side, it's a two-way street.
Correct.
You as a creator want to decide if Maverick's going to be a good fit for you to distribute your books. I get to decide if you as a publisher are going to be a good fit under the Maverick brand. And that comes at how you come across.
You,
And
let me explain something to y'all. You cannot cross a Scorpio any kind of way and think that we're just going to be like, okay, I need the money, so I'm going to do it. I'd rather go without. I'd rather start a OnlyFans account before I take your money.
yeah,
Just no, you can't. You cannot just cross. cross a Scorpio any kind of way and think that you're not going to get that tail. You're not going to get that poison.
Yep.
Cannot do that. You have to approach us a certain way. Why? Because we're going to approach you a certain way because
Hmm.
we're going to want to work with you in the future. We want to build a relationship with
Yep.
you, and we don't want to burn any bridges. But when you come to us and you burn that bridge, ain't no fixing it.
Yeah. The comic book community is a large community, and it's also a small community at the same time.
Correct.
So I used to live in Fresno, California for a little bit. And Fresno is basically like a little big town. It's the fifth largest city in
Yep.
California.
Oh
But
yeah.
a lot of people knew each other in Fresno.
Uh-huh.
It's the same thing in comics. There are a lot of creators out there. There are a lot of publishers, a lot of indie, out there.
Uh-huh.
People know people,
Correct.
and depending on your reputation, that reputation might help or it might hinder, um, depending on who you're trying to interact with. So it's a two-way street.
Like I tell people all the time, you don't know who I know in this community. And if you say one thing, the I've always told people that I said if you actually think that you're gonna say something and then it's not gonna get back to me, you don't know who I know or who knows me. It's gonna get back to me, and I'm gonna
It will.
find out that you said that. Am I gonna retaliate right away? No.
No.
But there's gonna come a chance where you may need me, and I'm not gonna respond the way you want me to respond.
So
So you got to be careful
yeah.
when you do when you come across people, especially if you want people to distribute your work, if you want them to distribute your book, or if you want to just build some type of long term relationship, and not just the first impression. You got to be that have that same impression the whole
Right.
time while you're working with that person. Don't just start off okay, everything fine, and once you get in the door, you, you turn it into this complete monster. You don't know.
Yep.
Stay that same person, be that same, so we can keep this relationship, and then it goes from there. So that's what it takes, you all. So that was his bank of audacity. Oh, who went in your DMs and asked you? You don't have to give no names
Yeah.
and ask,
I'm not gonna give any names, but
but that's not a way to approach people
it's
at
not.
all. That is not the way to approach anyone. So if you have a project and they want to back your project, let them get the opportunity to back the project. Don't look for a back for a back. This is not a favor for a favor, y'all.
No.
No, this is not how it works. So
And with
yeah,
distribution, just like I said, we're a startup, and you're more than welcome to apply. And if you think we're a good fit, that's great. If we think you're a good fit, that's awesome. We get a contract together.
exactly.
But don't expect that, just because you think we should doesn't mean that we will, because your reputation might precede you.
That is true.
And at the end of the day, as we try to build up your brand, we want to build up our brand too.
That is correct. That is very correct. Well, John, thank you so
No,
much
thank you.
for gracing us with your presence. I hope you enjoyed
I
the
don't know
show
if
because
racing is
I
the right
enjoyed.
way.
Huh?
I don't know if racing is the right term.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for thank you for being on the show. I really
Thank
do
you. I really
appreciate you
appreciate
taking
the
the
invite.
time. But bear with me just 1 second, and if like we always say, we thank you all for joining us on tonight. And like I always in the show, don't forget, stay positive and test negative.
Yep.
Good night. See you
You
next
can
time.
do it.